Yeah. Coach killed the music, I ain't noticed for a minute. Bag still swinging, so I stayed inside the business. Front desk counting up the register and closing, I was counting combinations. Different type of focus, whiteboard got a schedule. None of it applies, every plan gets rewritten when the pressure arrives. Chain of butter, heavy bag, crying every rotation. That's how I've been around longer than half the population. Tape hanging from my wrist, sweat falling on my jaw. Janitor hit the hallway with the bucket and the mop. Looked at me confused, probably thought I missed a memo. I've been missing normal ever since I entered through the door. Clock said stop. I don't speak clock. Clock said stop. I don't speak clock. Everybody leaving, I'm increasing. Creasing. Clock said stop. I don't speak clock. Phone buzzing in the corner like a bug against the wall. Battery getting weaker, I ignored it through it all. Time I hit a zero, I restarted every round. If a number thinks it owns me, then that number getting drowned. Parking lot empty, every windshield looking black. No engines running, still I never thought of heading back. Most people count hours, I've been counting impact. Most people want comfort, I get nervous when I had that. Heavy breathing, bouncing off the mirrors in the room. Sounded like another fighter training in the gloom. Turn around quick, only me and my reflection. Both of us exhausted, neither showing any hesitation. Clock says stop. I don't speak clock. Clock says stop. I don't speak clock. Everybody leaving, I'm increasing. Clock says stop. I don't speak clock. Schedule on the whiteboard means nothing to me. I use rounds for a calendar, paint for a week. Missed the last bus twice, missed dinner more than that. Never missed another chance to add a layer to the stack. Glove split near the thumb, wrap tape around the damage. Looks ugly, but it works. Story of the whole package. Water getting warm, good. I never liked the cold. Cold things make you comfortable and comfort makes you old. Somebody locked the front, heard the metal from afar. I just nodded to myself and threw another 100 jabs. City went silent, building went quiet. Only thing still arguing was the rhythm in my track. Clock says stop. I don't speak clock. Clock says stop. I don't speak clock. Everybody leaving, I'm increasing. Clock says stop. I don't speak clock. Sun ain't coming up yet, but it's thinking about trying. Same thing with my legs, both of them been fighting. Canvas got sweat stains, I keep adding new ones. Years from now, they'll dry together. Nobody knows whose was whose. I don't chase a finish line, I move it when it's near. That's why every extra round keeps appearing every year. Bell don't tell me nothing, keys don't tell me leave. When the room runs out of patience, that's the moment I believe. Bag, slow it down, I hit it. Bag, slow it down, I hit it. Bag, slow it down, I hit it. Now we're talking. Everybody gone. Good. More room to work. Yeah. Yeah. The alarm started ringing, but my hand was already moving. The stopwatch opened itself before my eyes were fully adjusted to the morning light. Coffee kept dripping in the kitchen while my heel bounced against the floor, keeping time to a rhythm nobody asked for and nobody could hear except me. I caught my reflection in the bathroom mirror and tucked my chin without thinking. The same way somebody reaches for a seatbelt after years behind the wheel. Nothing dramatic happened, nothing needed to happen. My body simply followed instructions that had been written into it too many times. A bright red rest day filled the screen on my phone, but that message landed somewhere far behind the machinery. The gym bag was already waiting by the door, packed with the confidence of something that assumed it was leaving the house. Crosswalk numbers counted down above my head while my feet counted something different. Measuring distance, timing steps, avoiding cracks and corners without permission. A stranger carrying groceries looked at me for a second, probably wondering why a grown man moved through a sidewalk like it was scheduled work. Every signal said relax, every habit said move. The habits won. Inside the grocery store, a crooked shopping cart rolled toward me. and I cut an angle around it before realizing there was nothing to defend against. I reached for a bottle on the shelf and checked range automatically, the same way somebody checks a lock before leaving home. The cashier asked a question that I barely heard because my attention was busy calculating space between the counter and the exit. The receipt landed in my hand, and somehow the gym card appeared before the bank card again. Wrong move, same move, not the first time, probably not the last. Back at home, the microwave announced that food was ready, but my leg kept bouncing and my mind never followed the sound. By the time I opened the door, the meal had already gone cold, and the timer had already given up on me. The strange part isn't that these things happen. The strange part is that they happen so often. They no longer feel strange. No coach speaking, no bell ringing, no ground schedule, no reason to be switched on, still switched on. I pulled into the driveway and shut the engine off, yet somehow sat there another minute with both hands wrapped around the gym bag. The building had been closed all day, but my brain kept acting like there was still another session waiting inside. A second reminder appeared across the screen. Rest day. Large letters, impossible to miss, I missed it anyway. I filled a water bottle I didn't need, laid out hand wraps I wasn't going to use, and nearly started wrapping my hands before finally catching myself in the act. That was the first moment all day when I realized the system wasn't following instructions anymore. The system was writing its own. The lights were off, the shoes were still on, the gym bag stayed packed beside the door, and somewhere inside the silence, my body kept waiting for a bell that never rang. Ordered the food before the session. Figured I'd be smart for once and handle dinner before the night got away from me. 30 minutes later, my phone was lighting up. The delivery driver calling again while I was still chasing another round. The bag finally made it to the door. Cold air got there first and I barely noticed. By the time I picked it up, I was already thinking about combinations I missed earlier. Tried sitting down, actually tried, took the gloves off, saw the jump rope. That was the end of dinner. A triangle kimbap disappeared for almost 24 hours, then showed up flattened inside the pocket of a hoodie. I don't even remember putting it there, which honestly stopped being surprising a long time ago. Bought a lunchbox on the way home, felt responsible for maybe 10 seconds. Next day I went looking for it in my kitchen. Wrong refrigerator, still sitting inside the gym behind 3 water bottles, waiting longer than I did. Food keeps showing up, I keep showing up somewhere else. Yeah. Found a lunchbox behind a stack of bottles. Thought about eating, coach walked by, started talking, forgot the food again. Opened the fridge, grabbed a protein shake, closed the door, lunch still waiting. Delivery app open, scroll for a minute, locked the screen, never ordered. Looked at the clock, past midnight already. Stomach losing, schedule winning somehow every time. To the wraps off, put them back on, walk past the table, walk back again. Microwave blinking, food still there, phone still buzzing. Missed call number 6, 1 in the morning. First real meal, dinner by the calendar, breakfast by the clock, none of it lined up. Plate finally empty, gym bag still packed. Back. Yeah. Phone shown, fire show, 3 minutes till departure. Heavy bag still rocking from the last combination, so I walked back in and gave it another round instead. Sweat cooling off across the hoodie. Timer already finished, station already filling up. Ride already leaving without me. Locker room almost empty by then. Grabbed the bag, filled the bottle, headed outside long after getting home. Stopped being realistic. Rain started around the second block, pulled the hood tighter, and kept the same pace through it. Crosswalk switch before I reached the corner, stood there bouncing on my heels, light changed again. Moved before the signal finished, counting taxis slow beside the curb and matched my speed. Driver asking questions through the passenger window while I kept looking down the road behind him. Green light came, cab disappeared, problem handled itself. Convenience store near the bridge still open, grab water, grab a protein drink, left with both stuffed into the side pocket of the bag. Phone battery died somewhere after that, didn't notice until a gas station clock flashed, 12:23 above the pumps. Bridge lights reflecting off wet pavement. Shoelace came loose near the underpass. Fix it while walking and never really stopped moving. Playlist rode into another track. Pace stayed exactly where it was. Passed the same bus route twice. Saw two different drivers, missed both rides on purpose. Message asking if I was coming home. Showed up before the battery died completely. Read it, put the phone away, kept moving. River path stretched another kilometer into the dark, so I followed it. Then another, then another, then another, then another, then another, then another. Front door finally visible from the end of the street. Keys already in hand before I reached the building. Walked past it, made it to the next corner. Turned around, got home 30 minutes later than necessary. Gym bag dropped beside the wall. Shoes finally stopped moving. Everything else still wanted another mile. Yeah. Split seam hanging from the heavy bag. Keys went back into the pocket before the lock ever turned. Take pull from the front desk drawer. 3 wraps around the tear. 2 hard shots into the leather just to make sure we'll survive tomorrow. Exit sign straight ahead. Parking lot waiting outside. Jump rope hanging over a bench upstairs. Back up the stairs. Cracked handle near the grip. Replacement rope pulled from the storage bin. Broken one tossed aside. Another 10 minutes gone before reaching the door again. Round timer flashing nonsense across the wall. Countdown, jumping numbers like it forgot it's some job. Finger on the reset button. 1 full minute watching the display behave itself again. Almost made it outside. Headgear sitting beneath the ring, back inside. Lost and found box, problem solved. Bench wobbling near the weight rack. Wrench from the cabinet, 2 turns on the boat. Problem solved. Almost made it outside again. Almost made it outside again. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 3 water bottles against the wall. 1 trip carrying bottles halfway back to the exit when the refrigerator door near the office caught my eye. Cold air pouring into an empty hallway. Door shut, back towards the entrance. Floor tape peeling near the ring steps. New strip pulled across the edge. 5 more minutes, gone. Parking lot getting emptier. Still there, not finished. Engine running this time, almost won. Athletic tape stuffed into a jacket pocket. Car turned around, front door unlocked again. Tape back in the drawer, mirror streak catching light near the corner. Towel already in hand. Another delay, another lap through the gym. Another walk toward the exit. Door locked, handle checked. Walked halfway across the lot before turning around and checking it again. Made it to the driver's seat. Looked through the 2nd floor window. Lights off, timer working. Heavy bag holding, thought that was enough. Then noticed a mouthpiece sitting beside the ring post. Engine off. Back upstairs, same story. Every night. Almost made it outside again. Almost made it outside again.
3rd alarm screaming, while my hand searched through the dark. Knocked the phone onto the floor and nearly dragged the charger with it before I even opened my eyes. Coffee splashed across the counter when I reached for the bottle. And instead of cleaning any of it up, I threw the cap on, grabbed the gym bag, and walked out, still trying to figure out whether I had actually slept at all. Missed the turn into the gym parking lot and drove 3 blocks past it, then circled back around, wondering how somebody could forget the same building they've been walking into all year.
Jump rope clipped both ankles before the 1st minute finished, and the 2nd attempt didn't look much better when the handle slipped loose in my hand. Heavy bag swinging in front of me while combinations kept arriving late, so I threw the same sequence again and again until one finally landed the way it was supposed to. Hand wraps came loose halfway through shadow boxing, and by the time I tightened them, the bell was already moving everybody to the next round.
coach called a number from across the gym, and I stepped forward on the wrong count before realizing everybody else stayed where they were.
Mouthpiece bounced across the canvas after the first exchange, so I spent half the round chasing it under the ropes before getting back to work like none of it happened.
Roadwork started after sparring ended, and somewhere near the second bridge I lost count of the distance. Started over, lost count again, and started over one more time because guessing felt worse.
Protein shake slipped from my hand while I searched for the car keys, and the bottle rolled halfway across the parking lot before I caught it near the curb. Sun felt brighter than usual, legs felt heavier than usual, and every simple thing seemed determined to take twice as long.
None of it canceled the session. Still awake. Pulled into a parking space after training and leaned back for what felt like a few seconds, then opened my eyes and realized 20 minutes had disappeared without permission. Gym bag still sitting beside me, shoes still on, engine still silent, nothing moving except the clock.
Phone charging on the nightstand again, alarm already set for the same time that caused all the problems in the first place.
1 hour last night, might be 1 hour again. Still setting it anyway. Still setting it anyway.
Key hit the lock 3 times before the sign taped to the glass finally made sense. And all the work packed into my gym bag got stranded outside with me in the parking lot. Phone came out and the number on the door got dialed, but the voicemail answered before anybody else could. So I stuffed the phone back into my pocket and started walking laps around the building while deciding where the session was gonna happen instead. Hand wraps already tight around both wrists, water bottle already half empty, and enough energy left for a workout that wasn't getting canceled by a piece of paper. Shadowboxing. Beside the fence felt awkward until the combination started flowing, and once that happened, the empty parking spaces stopped looking different from a ring. Jump rope clipped the crack running through the pavement, forced me to reset the count and caught the same crack again before the next minute finished. Delivery truck rolled into the lot carrying boxes nobody was there to receive, and the driver spent more time watching me train than unloading the shipment. Phone balance against the water bottle, timer rap calling rounds through a speaker that sounded one bad drop away from retirement. Bench near the bus stop handled every step up I could throw at it, while a metal railing took over for split squats, and the hill behind the building volunteered for road work without getting a vote. Each climb up the hill felt heavier than the last one, until breathing hard stopped feeling unusual and started feeling like the point of being there. Rain arrived halfway through the workout, darkening the pavement and soaking through the hoodie, but every round that would've happened inside still happened out there beside the fence. Wind kept rattling the chain link fence behind me, cars kept rolling through the intersection, and every driver looked confused about why somebody was throwing combinations next to a locked gym. None of them mattered, the timer kept calling rounds, the hill kept waiting for another run, and the parking lot kept turning into a training camp every time I crossed it. Sun dropped behind the buildings before I packed everything back into the bag, and the same sign was still hanging on the glass exactly where I found it. The lock never moved, the door never opened. Every sprint, every climb, and every round still got finished before I left. Gym closed. Session completed. Oh. Opened the refrigerator and grabbed a bottle of water, and stood there turning the cap in my hand before putting it back untouched, when the number from the scale showed up in my head again. Stepped onto the scale beside the bathroom, watched it stop short of the target, and pulled the hoodie off the chair before frustration had time to settle in. Jump rope started spinning across the garage floor, and every time it slapped the concrete I pictured the number moving, so I kept going until sweat reached the cuffs of my sleeves. Walked back through the house, expecting a different result, but the scale stopped in almost the same place, which set me straight past the shower and back outside with the rope. Past the refrigerator again, opened the door, looked at the same bottle and shut it before taking a single sip. Crossed the bathroom, stepped onto the scale, missed the target again, and headed for the street before disappointment could get comfortable. Turned one block into three into another lap around the neighborhood, and came back breathing hard enough to fog the bathroom mirror. Stepped onto the scale without taking my shoes off, kicked them into the corner when the number looked closer, and headed right back outside before it had a chance to move again. Heavy Heavy bag swinging under the gym lights, while every combination ended with the walk toward the scale, sitting against the far wall. Finished a round, checked the number, threw another round, checked it again and kept repeating the same trip across the room until the gym felt smaller than it should. Passed the water fountain twice, looked at it both times and kept moving because stopping would've made the next round harder. Road work started after the bag work ended, and the hoodie got heavier with sweat every time I circled the block and came back. Alarm went off before sunrise, and my feet hit the bathroom floor before my eyes fully opened. Stepped onto the scale, watched the number finally land where it needed to, and emptied the first bottle of water in less time than it took to read the label. Grabbed the gym bag from the chair, scooped the keys off the table and walked out the front door with the scale still glowing behind me. It dropped away and stayed quiet, but the bathroom scale, the refrigerator door, and every lap from the night before came along for the ride. Phone buzzed while I was pulling the last strap tight around my wrist, and the message saying 5 more minutes showed up right before I tossed the bag beside the ring and started warming up. 3 rounds later, the rope stopped spinning, sweat already running, but the only thing waiting on the screen was another excuse, replacing the guy who was supposed to be standing across from me. Heavy bag swinging hard enough to shake the chain above it, and every time the front door opened, I stopped half a combination short, only to watch somebody else walk through and kill the momentum again. Another message landed while I was stripping tape off one glove, promising he was almost there this time. So the headgear came out of the bag and hit the bench before going right back inside when the entrance stayed empty. Coach wrapped one fighter, then another, caught rounds for half the gym, and still managed to glance toward the door often enough to know exactly why I was annoyed. Jump rope clipped my ankle while I was reading another update, and the rope wasn't the thing I wanted to throw across the room. Phone lit up during bag work again, claiming he was already parking. So I tightened the gloves, cleaned the mouthpiece, and reset the timer before the message had time to disappear. Half a round later, the front door opened, but a delivery driver rolled the cart through the entrance instead. And the combination I stopped throwing came back twice as hard when I realized it wasn't him. Another vibration hit while I was crossing the gym for water, saying he was finally outside. But by then I trusted the heavy bag more than anything showing up on my screen. The next buzz landed in my pocket halfway through a combination, and before I could even read it, the front door slammed open behind me, with the sound of gloves hitting the floor louder than any ringtone all night. Headgear went on while he was still walking toward the ring. Mouthpiece snapped into place before either of us bothered explaining anything, and the bell started moving before the excuses ever had a chance. First jab landed while he was still talking, the second caught him trying to finish the sentence, and the round exploded so fast that an hour of waiting disappeared before the timer reached the halfway mark. Third round already moving when I finally looked toward the bench again, and the phone that spent all night making promises sat there dead beside the water bottle.
The scale stopped at 75.8, and before the official finished writing the number, my coach had already thrown a hoodie into my chest and pushed me through the doors while the countdown board kept moving without us. We hit the road behind the building at a pace that would have been a workout on any other day, but every step felt different, knowing the fight could disappear before lunchtime, and every glance at the watch made the distance ahead look longer than it actually was. Cars rolled through the intersection, delivery trucks backed into loading bays, and people carried coffee into work while I kept circling blocks and so closed and cut back toward the gym, hoping the next number would finally move. The display dropped to 75.5, which brought exactly 0 celebration, and my coach was already pointing toward the sauna before I stepped off the scale. The first sauna was packed with fighters chasing the same goal. The second wasn't working, and the third finally opened enough room for me to squeeze into a corner while sweat ran off my sleeves and pooled under my shoes. One guy walked out swearing, another sat down in the hallway with his head against the wall. And the longer I stayed inside, the harder it became to tell whether the heat was helping or just stealing energy I needed later. Back to the scale, back to the same official, back to another number that still wasn't low enough. And before I could think about it, my coach had a jump rope in my hands and a look on his face that said we were negotiating with mathematics. The rope caught my ankle, then my shoe, then my calf, but every mistake only made me spin it harder, because missing by half a kilo and missing by 5 kilos ended the exact same way. The next check came back at 75.1, and the silence between me and my coach lasted all the way to the parking lot, because there wasn't anything left to discuss except work. I started running laps around the building while fighters who had already made weight sat inside eating breakfast.
And every time I passed the entrance, somebody new was walking in fresh, while my legs felt older than they had an hour earlier. The countdown board kept shrinking, the morning sun kept climbing, and the corners of the building started looking identical, but slowing down with a man accepting the result early. So I kept turning the same lap until my shirt felt glued to my back. When we finally stepped onto the scale again, the display froze at 74.9, and for the first time all morning my coach stopped talking long enough to let the number speak for itself.
The paperwork hit the table. The official stamped the form in a bottle of water. Disappeared faster than any round I'd ever fought. Then we headed toward the venue with less than an hour to spare, and a fight that almost never happened.
90 minutes earlier, I was losing to a number glowing on the screen, and now the gloves were packed, the weight was gone, and the bell
Was still waiting for me. The chair beside mine stayed empty through 3 fights and 2 announcements. Then my name came through the speakers while the mouthpiece was still sitting in my own pocket, and the stool in my corner looked like nobody planned to use it. A kid wrapped in fresh team gear walked past carrying pads for somebody else. Another coach dragged a bucket toward another ring, and the hallway kept sending people somewhere important while I stayed planted against the wall watching the next bout end. The referee called both fighters for instructions, so I followed the volunteer through the crowd, listened to 30 seconds of rules, shook one glove and walked back out again, while the seat beside mine stayed just as empty as before. Yeah. The warm-up room kept changing faces every few minutes. Hand wraps hit the floor, water bottles rolled under benches, and names kept getting pulled from the speakers. But every time I looked toward the doorway, somebody else's coach appeared first. A volunteer stopped in front of me and pointed toward the tunnel, so I stood up expecting to walk to start. Then another official waved everybody back because the previous fight had gone a distance and the schedule slipped again. I sat down, stood up, sat down again, and tightened the same glove strap 3 different times while the opposite corner moved together like a unit, checking gear, calling instructions, and filling every silence before it could settle. The next call wasn't another delay, it was my fight. And by the time I reached the tunnel, the crowd had already turned toward the ring, while the stool in my corner was still folded against the barrier. I started to walk anyway, stepped onto the platform and reached the ropes just as running shoes started hammering across the concrete behind me. Then my coach burst through the crowd carrying a bottle, a towel, and the missing stool like he'd stolen all 3 on the way over. The official pointed us forward. The gloves touched once in the center, and whatever happened before that moment got left outside the ropes with everybody else. The empty chair got filled 30 seconds before the bell. The corner showed up late. The fight didn't wait. Yeah. The bell barely finished ringing before the guy in front of me slipped through the ropes and headed for the water cooler. Then somebody twice the size threw a hoodie, crossed a bench, climbed into the ring and started tightening his gloves like he'd been waiting for the seat to open. My back foot hit the canvas before my brain caught up. A jab smacked into the guard hard enough to shake dust off the headgear, and the next step I took wasn't part of any plan. I walked into the gym with 3 people stopped, wrapping hands to watch. Somebody laughed when I got driven into the ropes, and the big guy kept walking forward like every round before this one had been arranged in his favor. The corner post touched my shoulder, so I spun out and fired back before he could pin me there. Then both of us landed at the same time, and the sound pulled half the room away from whatever they were doing. His glove kept showing up where I wanted space. My feet kept finding spots to disappear. A second later, and every exchange ended with both of us standing closer than we started. A coach from another team stopped talking to his fighter. A guy on a heavy bag quit punching long enough to watch, and the round started collecting people around the ring without either of us noticing. The stool slid under me when the bell ended the round, and disappeared again before my breathing settled down, because the next one started faster than the last. Sweat hit the canvas, the rope spent, the crowd around the apron got thicker and somewhere in the middle of it I stopped worrying about how much bigger he was and started looking for ways to make him take a
the gym reacted. The next combination moved him again. The round after that felt completely different. I came in expecting routine work, but the guy who was supposed to spar me never made it past the first 30 seconds. And the replacement turned the whole afternoon into something nobody in the room forgot.
Yeah. Yeah, the bell kicked off the round and 6 pairs of gloves started flying at once. Then the coach grabbed the back of my headgear, turned me toward the door and pointed at a heavyweight I'd never seen before walking into the gym, still wearing work boots. He dropped the duffel bag beside the ring, changed faster than anybody should have been able to, and climbed through the ropes while my original partner disappeared into the locker room holding his ribs. Then the whole session changed direction before either of us threw a punch. The first exchange shot me halfway across the canvas. The second one pushed me into the ropes, and the third one landed hard enough to wake up half the people pretending not to watch. So I stopped trying to figure out who this guy was and started worrying about surviving the next 3 minutes. The round ended, the stool touched the floor, and before I could sit down, another fighter climbed through the ropes, asking for a turn. And the heavyweight pointed at the clock, stayed where he was, and waved him away like he hadn't finished what he came for. Sweat started dripping off the bottom rope. Coaches stopped their conversations, jumped ropes, slowed down, and their heavy bags behind us kept swinging without anybody attached to them, because more eyes were gathering around the ring every minute. A left hook bounced off my guard. I answered with a right hand, and the next exchange crashed together so fast neither of us had room to reset. Before another one started, then another one after that, and another one after that, until the bell finally dragged us apart. The heavyweight stayed for the next round, and the round after that, and the round after that too, while fresh fighters rotated in and out, trying to take his place before giving up and climbing back through the ropes, looking more tired than when they entered. One guy lasted a minute, another lasted less. A third came smiling and left, rubbing his body. The heavyweight never stopped moving. The gym kept feeding him partners, and he kept sending them back. By the time my turn came around again, the crowd around the apron had doubled. The air felt hotter than when the session started, and everybody in the building knew exactly where to look when the bell rang. The work boots were still sitting under the ring when training ended. The heavyweight packed his bag, nodded once, and walked out without telling anybody his name. But the rounds he left behind stayed in the room long after he was gone, because every fighter there spent the rest of the night measuring themselves against them. Yeah. Rain hit the pavement. Halfway through the route and turning back still counted as an option. But the road ahead looked shorter than the thought of quitting early, so I kept moving until a police car rode alongside me. And an officer leaned out the window asking where I thought I was going in weather like this. Water ran off the hood into my eyes while I answered without slowing down. Then the cruiser pulled away, shaking its lights across the wet asphalt, and left me alone with a route that was getting emptier every minute. Half a mile later, the storm got serious. Wind shoved against my shoulders hard enough to change direction, and the branch snapped somewhere ahead, then landed across the sidewalk and forced me off the path I'd run 100 times before. The detour led through streets I didn't know, past warehouses with no lights on, and loading docks sitting empty in the rain. And every wrong turn at a distance that wasn't part of the original plan, but still had to be carried home. A railroad crossing dropped its barriers in front of me. Red lights started flashing and the freight train crawled through the storm so slowly it felt personal. Then the route I've been chasing disappeared behind steel cars one by one while the clock kept moving. The crossing finally opened, I took off again and reached the turnaround point later than expected, only to discover the shortest way home was flooded underneath deep water and blocked off with orange barriers somebody forgot to place far enough away.
The long route was the only route left, so I followed it while the rain kept hammering rooftops and running through my sleeves. Then the cramp grabbed the side of my leg halfway up a hill and tried negotiating an earlier finish than I was willing to accept. Street lights flickered on, traffic disappeared, and the gym felt farther away with every step. But the extra miles were already attached to the run now, and there wasn't anybody coming to remove them. The parking lot finally appeared through the weather, then the entrance, then the bench inside the lobby. And by the time I sat down, the route was nearly double what I planned when I left, because every shortcut had vanished and every problem showed up at once. Water poured from the hoodie, mud covered the shoes, and the route ended almost an hour later than expected. But the storm never actually beat me, because every obstacle it added just became another part of the distance that still had to be finished. Yeah. Yeah.
Hand wraps hit the bench, gloves landed beside them, and a warm-up timer was already counting down when my hand reached into the gear bag and came back empty, because the tape roll I packed the night before never made it to the gym. 3 fighters were already wrapping up. Another coach was cutting fresh strips across somebody's knuckles, and every second spent searching through pockets felt like throwing pieces of the session straight into the trash. A locker got checked, then another, then the front desk, but empty shelves kept answering every question, while the clock kept burning through rounds I couldn't afford to lose. One guy offered half a roll with barely enough left to finish one hand. Another pointed toward a storage room that was locked, and the third swore there was extra tape somewhere near the ring. So I started moving through the gym faster than the people training in it. A jump rope caught my ankle, a stool tipped over behind me, and a bucket full of gloves nearly hit the floor when I cut through the warm-up area chasing another bad lid. But none of it produced the one thing I actually needed. The first sparring bell sounded from across the room and pulled half the fighters through the ropes while I was still hunting equipment like a rookie who forgot his own name. A roll finally appeared under a stack of old pads behind the ring, covered in dust and hanging on by its last few layers. But the second it touched my hands, I was already wrapping wrists and tightening gloves before somebody else changed their mind. The tape tore crooked, stuck to itself twice, and wasted precious seconds fighting back. Yet the wraps got finished, the gloves got laced, and the next bell found me climbing through the ropes instead of watching from outside. Then a jab hit the guard, another clipped the shoulder, and the pace immediately erased every problem that came before it, because the work had finally started, and the work was the only reason I showed up.
The missing tape never turned up. The dusty roll barely survived the session, and the first few rounds were gone for good. But losing training time hurt worse than losing equipment. So once the gloves were on, there wasn't much left to think about, except catching up.
Yeah. Half a sandwich disappeared before somebody burst through the gym door yelling for a replacement. And every head in the room turned at once while a finger pointed across the mats and landed directly on me. Gloves got stuffed into a duffel, wraps disappeared in the pockets, and the normal afternoon died right there beside the heavy bags. Then tires chirped out of the parking lot while my coach kept checking the dashboard clock like it owed him money. Red lights stacked themselves across every intersection. Slow drivers suddenly became unavoidable, and construction cones narrowed the road at exactly the wrong moment. But none of it changed the fact that another fighter's name had already been scratched off a bout sheet waiting for mine. Paperwork slid across a folding table. The second we reached the venue, a volunteer shoved a wristband into my hand, and somewhere down the hallway gloves were already popping against pads hard enough to echo through the building. Sweat, dark and warm-up shirts, jump ropes, slap concrete, and coaches bark combinations from every direction while I wrapped my hands standing up because sitting down would have wasted time I didn't actually have. My name bounced through the speakers before the tape finished sticking to my wrist, and a volunteer waved me forward, and the walk toward the tunnel started earlier than anybody promised it would. Light spilled across the canvas, voices rolled down from the bleachers, and a pair of gloves touched mine in the center before either of us had enough time to think about preparation anymore. A jab snapped into the guard, a right hand answered it immediately, and the pace jumped straight past filling out territory, because neither fighter had spent the day getting ready for patience. Breathing got heavier, corners got louder, and every exchange arrived before the last one fully ended. Then the crowd finally realized two guys were fighting like neither of them expected to be there an hour early.
finished on a table back at the gym. Somebody else's cancellation opened the door, and 40 minutes later sweat was flying under venue lights instead of training room fluorescence. Proving that some days don't bother asking whether you're ready before they start moving.
Yeah. Yeah. A different logo hung over the ring. Unfamiliar faces fill the warm-up area, and every pair of eyes seemed to stop for a second when I walked through the door carrying gear nobody there recognized. Jump rope snapped against the floor, gloves hammered, heavy bags from every corner of the room, and names I didn't know bounced back and forth across the gym while I finished wrapping my hands and waited to see who wanted rounds first. A guy in red headgear climbed through the ropes and waved me over before the coach even finished introductions, and the bell hitting the first exchange arrived fast enough to skip every polite part of me to somebody. Pressure came early, combinations came often, and neither of us seemed interested in spending around collecting information. So the pace jumped straight into work while people along the apron started drifting closer. Red headgear stepped out after 2 rounds. Blue headgear climbed in before I reached the stool, and another style showed up immediately, bringing longer punches, wider angles, and a completely different set of problems. Sweat covered the canvas, fresh partners kept appearing, and every round felt like opening a new door without knowing what was waiting behind it. But slowing down would've wasted the reason I drove across the city in the first place. 3 rounds became 5, 5 became 7, and by the time another gym's heavyweight asked for work, my shirt weighed twice what it did when the session started, and the crowd around the ring was bigger than before. Heavy shots rattled guards, tied legs kept moving anyway, and every new partner arrived trying to leave a mark before that round disappeared. But the bell kept resetting the challenges, sending somebody else forward. Voices blurred together, gloves touched once more in the center, and another unfamiliar fighter stepped through the ropes just as the previous one climbed out, turning the whole afternoon into a lot of new problems. They never stopped arriving until the gym finally started shutting lights off around us. Yeah. Water hit my throat. Water hit my Water hit my Yeah. Water hit my throat wrong in the locker room, and my stomach turned cold, and the cat rolled under the bench while my coach knocked twice on the door and said my fight was getting close. Gloves sat on my knees, tape pulled tight on the wrist, and the lights outside the hallway kept flickering white. But something in my gut started twisting like it wanted its own round. Before the first bell of the night, I stood up slow, sat back down fast, and tried to breathe through it. Then the volunteer called my name from the hall while my legs felt fine, but my stomach had other plans for the fight. Bathroom door swung open, cold, sick, bright towel, bad timing. My gloves on the counter and my mouthpiece in sight. Then somebody yelled 5 minutes from outside while I washed my face and tried to look right. My coach shoved the bottle away, checked my eyes, checked my raps, and said move. So I walked back through the hallway with the crowd getting loud, and every step bland and tight. Up on it, bounced near the curtain, calm face, dry shirt. Whole team lined up clean under the light while I kept my jaw locked and my hands low enough to hide the shake before we walked toward the fight. Bell hit, first jab came straight and I answered on time. But my body kept pulling energy sideways like a bad cut, stealing blood from the line. He stepped in, I slid out, crowd rose, corner shot it right. Then the hook grazed my guard and I fired back twice, because looking sick only works if you start losing the fight. Second round came hotter, sweat ran cold down my spine, and the water in my stomach kept moving wrong. But his feet crossed once near the rope, and I made him pay before the opening closed. Earned round, dragged both of us into the center. No clean face, no clean breath, no clean light, just leather cracking through a room full of noise while I kept everything bad like behind my bite. Final bell rang and I reached the corner before my knees found out. Coach cut the gloves loose. Towel hit my neck and the same bottle sat there untouched beside the stool. I never found out what was wrong with the water. Never asked
asked who left it warm. Never cared once the car got red. Because the only thing worse than feeling sick was giving the other corner proof.
Yeah. Bell quit, room quit, lights dropped. Most of the gloves disappeared in the bags while chairs scraped across the floor and people started talking about food trafficking tomorrow. But another round kept scratching at the back of my head. Heavy bag swung once, stop, swung twice, stop. Chain clicked against steel and the sound landed harder than half the conversations in the room. So I tightened the wraps again, shoved the stool aside and stopped the timer before anybody could tell me the session was over.
Leather crack, feet drag, breath burned.
Nobody paid attention at first because everybody had already decided training ended 20 minutes ago. Go.
Sweat dropped from the end of my nose and dark spots spread across the canvas under the bag. Then another combination bounced through the room and pulled a few heads back around. Bag snapped left, came back right, caught another bite. The chain groaned, the floor squealed, the timer kept eating seconds. A coach carrying keys slowed down near the exit, watched for a moment and kept walking while somebody halfway through changing clothes stopped with one glove still hanging from his wrist. Work stacked up, round stacked up, noise stacked up. The room kept getting quieter while the bag kept getting louder.
Air felt heavier than the start of the session. Legs felt older than they did an hour ago. And every clean punch landed with that dull weight that only shows up after enough rounds of already taking something out of you.
Chain cracked once, bag dropped. Half the room looked over. Pattern split near the seam and stuffing pushed through the leather while the timer's still at 20 seconds left.
So I shoved the torn bag aside, grabbed the next one and finished the round before anybody found a reason to stop it. Keys jingle, front door open, cold air rolled, and the owner stood there waiting. The timer hit zero, my hand hit reset.
The next round started before the argument did.
Yeah.
Front door shut, keys drop. Front door shut. Yeah. Front door shut, keys dropped, gloves hit the chair. Rain from the parking lot still clung to the hoodie while reps peeled off one finger at a time. Then the mouthpiece rolled across the table and stopped beside a water bottle that never got finished. Shower ran hot, timer ran out, steam filled the mirror. Marks from the day started showing up where the sweat disappeared. But the bag in the corner stayed half packed because unpacking everything only meant packing it again a few hours later. Food cooled fast, phone stayed dark, alarm screen glowed. A fork scraped the plate, another bite disappeared, and tomorrow's schedule started taking shape before dinner even had a chance to end. Then hand wraps landed beside the gloves, exactly where they be needed again. Traffic noise faded, building lights died, midnight moved in. The gym was closed, the ring was empty, and somebody else was probably locking up for the night. But road work, route sparring rounds, and unfinished work were already lining up on the other side of sleep. Chair creaked once, clock moved twice, sleep kept waiting. Tape stayed in the bag, headgear stayed ready, running shoes stayed by the door. Nothing dramatic happened, nobody made a speech, and no lesson arrived wrapped inside the day. Because training doesn't really end when the lights go out, and most of the work never cared what time it was. Alarm got set, screen went black, room went quiet. 6 hours later the gloves would be back in my hands, and the whole process would start again. Not because the day was special, but because today looked exactly like the day before it, and exactly like the day after it.